So good day, everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar. I'm Jeremy Pitt, and I'm responsible for the Micro Focus archive and risk management portfolio in the UK and Ireland. And today, on the webinar, I'm joined by my colleague, Stephen Cohen, who's one of our senior systems engineers for our Retain Unified Archiving solution. First of all, just a bit of housekeeping. Everyone on the call has been muted, but if you have any questions, write them in the question box. I'll look to answer these at the end of the session unless they've already been answered during Stephen's demonstration of Retain. So let's get underway. Why are we running this series of short webinars? Well, we're presently living in and working in unusual times. So I'm sat in my home here now, nervously wondering what's going to happen after lockdown, Christmas and the New Year. And the COVID situation has changed the way that many of us work and how we communicate with our colleagues, our customers, our suppliers, and of course, it's changed the way our customers and suppliers communicate with us. But actually, these changes were happening way before COVID, as companies embraced new communication channels and used existing more dynamic channels far more in their everyday business. So think of how we feel comfortable sending business-related texts to our colleagues, or using WhatsApp to speed up urgent business matters. And think of how customers have no concerns about publicizing complaints about goods and services on Twitter or Facebook. And in fact, many companies encourage Twitter DMs as the channel of communication for customer issues. And what COVID has done is it has accelerated this move towards multiple communication channels, often with communications taking place simultaneously. So think of a Teams call or a Zoom call, where you've got video, audio, and chat channels, all creating content which may or may not contain personal or private or special category data. So with all this additional data that's being created, there is a very real problem occurring, and that is that all of these multiple communication data streams carry the same weight when it comes to litigation and e-disclosure. And all of these multiple communication data streams carry the same weight when it comes to DSARs, or the right to be forgotten under GDPR. Yet the ability to identify and retrieve such data from the massive communications is a challenge that many companies simply cannot start to manage due to a lack of any kind of unified archiving process, whereby the communication data can be surfaced and presented in their original fully preserved state. And given all the various data protection and litigation regulations and the many formats which we all collaborate with, it's quite alarming to see that most organizations, if they archive at all, are still only archiving email. So they understand the risks and the importance of archiving email messages, but remember what I said earlier, all of these multiple communication data streams carry the same weight when it comes to litigation, e-disclosure, DSARs, or the right to be forgotten. And the Data Protection Act 2018 and the GDPR, together with the FCA regulations or advice regarding MiFID II, they're all clear when it comes to timely presentment of data and the penalties for not adhering. So in a world where communication via mobile and social messaging is skyrocketing, organizations that don't archive these communications are taking unacceptable risks. And don't think you can rely on the mobile carrier or the OTT over-the-top providers, such as Facebook or Twitter, to archive the data. They are at liberty to delete aged data and would prefer to do so in order to be able to show a defensible disposition. So what we will be demonstrating today is how Retain Unified Archiving can allow you to capture, archive and retrieve mobile messaging data alongside other data channels, including email, and allow you to satisfy the requirements for data disclosure and privacy obligations. You don't know when you may need to surface specific mobile messaging data. It may be part of a corporate litigation process. It may be an internal employee grievance process. But the courts are requesting access to a full e-disclosure. So how do you do it? Where do you find the relevant data? And how do you find the relevant data? And more importantly, how do you secure it to avoid deletion or alteration? So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Stephen Cohen, who's going to be doing the juicy stuff, and that is getting under the covers of Retain, complete with a full demonstration. So Stephen, over to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. And again, welcome everybody to the webinar today. Again, my name is Stephen Cohen, Senior Systems Engineer here at Micro Focus. I've been talking about mobile archiving since around 2007, so quite some time ago. We were one of the first vendors to offer solutions around BlackBerry Enterprise Messaging. Back then, it was called BBM. And we were able to capture all mobile messages off of BlackBerry devices over about 13 years ago. It was really cool technology, but when I talked to people about it back then, they kind of looked at me like I was a little bit crazy. Why, Stephen, would we want to archive mobile messaging? This was, again, back in 2007. Well, I told them about, the future and all that, but they didn't seem to really take me seriously. And we didn't make very many sales back then. But these days, as Jeremy mentioned, things have changed quite a bit, and this is a very hot topic, and it's actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. So let's dive into it today. So what I'm going to be doing is about 10 slides. I think that they should take about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get through, and then we'll do a demonstration. A pretty ambitious demonstration. We're going to try and register mobile devices and all that live with you on the webinar today. It will be fun to go through that together. But before we dive into the mobile conversation, a quick high-level intro is in order, I think. The Retain Unified Archive is a built-for-purpose, flexible, performant, and easy to set up and use system that will enable customers to comply with regulatory requirements or satisfy internal mandates to archive, preserve, and discover amongst a wide variety of digital messaging. And as we can see from this slide here, the Unified Archive is designed to ingest more than just mobile, as Jeremy mentioned. Though mobile might be the only component in scope for our discussions today, it is important to realize that systems like Retain are able to monitor and archive messaging from a wide variety of sources. And a lot of the value inside of Retain is to be able to discover all those different messaging under one pane of glass so that you don't have your different communications siloed into different repositories. Retain is also very flexible from a deployment perspective. We offer Retain to customers as a SaaS-based hosted solution, or customers are free to easily deploy the solution on their own premises. Okay, so with that intro out of the way, let's focus in on mobile archiving. So they say a picture can tell 1,000 words. And what picture came to my mind when I started to think about a slide to explain how to archive mobile messaging? This one here, a swamp. And not just any swamp, the scariest swamp I could find. And I think you can all maybe agree that I found a pretty good picture for that. So over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to cross this swamp to the other side, which is full of people who have a better understanding on how to archive mobile messaging. And my job here is to make sure we all get to the other side safely and in one piece. And you see a lot of murky water there. There's actually a lot of crocodiles and other spooky monsters under there. So it's a pretty dangerous road, but we're going to cross it together and hopefully safely. And if you have any questions while we are doing that, feel free to type those into the chat, and we will get to those at the end of the demonstration. But why is this such a murky topic that requires an expert guide? Because it's a very complex landscape and environment, and let me tell you why. Number one, we have two different mobile operating systems that we need to deal with in the world. There's two major ones, Android and iOS. They actually have very little in common with each other than they are both mobile operating systems. Aside from that, they're extremely different, and they come at the issue of mobility in two very different ways. Apple is a very private and secured system that doesn't allow third-party access to different areas of the operating system and across different applications. They have opened up more and more over the years. Google, on the other hand, comes about it from the other direction. They're a less secure, way less private operating system that originally had everything wide open, but they have closed things off more and more over the years. So as you can see, they're kind of actually converging slowly, but they started life on very different ends of the spectrum. All right, and they're still not converged completely, that we still have some years to go before they get to a convergence. So they're very different. And of course, organizations typically have a mixed environment when it comes to these operating systems. The reason is because their end users typically vastly prefer one over the other, so it's hard to enforce uniformity across operating systems. Number two, BYOD, which stands for bring your own device, corporate issue, or other. This relates to how organizations deploy mobile devices. They either allow users to bring their own device, such as I can bring my own iPhone or I can bring my own Samsung device to work and use that to receive work email, use that to install work applications, etc. Or corporations can give a mobile device to their end users, and on that mobile device are all their work, they can conduct all their work functions. And normally it's actually not one or the other. They have a mixed environment where some users have BYOD, some users have corporate issued, which is what we talk about with other. It's kind of a mix. Number three, we have different carriers, and depending on the size of your company or organization, it's quite likely that you're going to have a mix of different carriers. Unless you're completely localized to one city or so. Typically, we have different, in the UK, there's different carriers, and you know, reception is not uniform across the country. People have different preferences amongst carriers, especially if it's a BYOD environment. MDM, secure workspaces, different container technologies. There are so many different types of these. MDM stands for mobile device management, an extremely important tool that organizations need to use to manage their fleet of mobile devices. Regardless of if they're BYOD or corporate issues, MDMs can be used to secure the work applications even on BYOD devices. So if these are personally owned applications, I can set up a secure container on my device, whether it be BlackBerry Dynamics or Samsung Knox or Google Android for Work or any of the other ones that allow my company's data to be securely placed, even if on a phone, even if that phone is not possessed or owned by my company. And there are many different types of technologies, so we need to make sure that our technologies can work with most of those. And then finally, email is an easy topic to talk about because email is email. It doesn't matter if you're using Outlook or it doesn't matter if you're using Gmail. It's just an email. But when it comes to mobile messaging, well, you have SMS, which is ubiquitous. We all know what that is, text messages. But you have Apple iMessage, you have WhatsApp, you have Facebook Messenger, you have all kinds of ways that people are communicating using mobile devices. And Google has been trying for the last 10 years to create a competitor to Apple's iMessage, and they've failed on a couple of occasions, but I think that they are getting close to getting something rolled out, and that's called RCS, which stands for Rich Communications. I think the S stands for standard. And this is going to be rolling out currently to carriers across. Whoops, my hand was hovering over my keyboard and it fell. So basically, what I'm trying to get to here is there's no magic bullet. Maybe it was the timing of that switch was appropriate. There's no magic bullet solution. So, and if any other vendor comes to you and they say, yes, I have a one size fits all solution to mobile archiving, it's simply not true at present. So we'll be honest with you today, and we'll have to talk about 3 different offerings for archiving mobile solutions. And these are the 3 of them. Number 1 is a mobile archiving agent. Number 2 is an over-the-top application. And number 3 is in-network capture. And I'm going to talk about each of these in detail. And then we're going to talk about in what different scenarios would each be appropriate. And then when we have that understanding, we can figure out which solution makes the most sense for you as a specific customer of ours. So number 1, mobile archiving agent. What is this? This is an agent that is installed on the mobile device, and it's basically reading and monitoring text messages as they come in and out of the mobile device, recording those and sending those to the Retain Unified Archive pretty much on a scheduled basis every few minutes. It sends the data up to the Retain server. Now, because this is an application that is monitoring the SMS traffic of the device, the operating system needs to allow third-party applications access to view text messages, the messaging application, the native messaging application of the phone. Now, iOS does not allow this, but Android does. So this is a solution that we use for Android devices, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit. Over the top applications. So this is an application that is installed on the phone. And when a user opens this application, they are presented with a fully functional telecommunication application. What I mean by that is they can make phone calls from this application to any phone in the world. They can send text messages to any phone in the world from this application. And they can also send instant messages. They can send files. They can do meetings with their internal users across their organizations. So it's a fully functional application that allows all this. So it's kind of like a Skype for business application, but it allows further functionalities that include sending voice communications and making voice calls and text messages to any external phone in the world. To allow for that, this application comes with its own business phone number. So think of it really as a phone within a phone, and I'll show you some screenshots and examples of that in a few slides. So users typically either port or bring their own their original phone number along and use it for that application, or more typically, we assign a new phone number, and that is the business phone number that is going to occupy that application. And everything that happens in that application, every text message, every voice call, all that information is recorded and sent to the Retain server. And as you can imagine, since this is an application that has all this functionality built into it, this one here is platform agnostic. It can be installed on iOS, it can be installed on Android. Finally, in-network capture. So we have some agreements with various carriers across the world. We do have, I believe, 1 or 2. Vodafone, I believe, is one that we have an agreement with. Maybe O2 might be another one in the UK. I'd have to check that, but I believe so. So what we do with those particular carriers is allow them, or they allow us, we allow each other to archive SMS messages. How it works is when a user sends or receives an SMS message, it inevitably has to travel through their own carrier's network, and they make a copy of it as it's passing through their network, and then they send that directly off to the customer's Retain server. And by doing it this way, we don't require any application to be installed on the device. It happens transparently without users' knowledge or interaction. Privacy laws or corporate policy might require you to make your users aware that it's happening, but Otherwise, it's really transparent. However, as you can probably imagine, only corporately owned devices can subscribe to this feature from or service from the carriers. They obviously, if I work at a company XYZ and I'm using my iPhone to work at company XYZ, the Vodafone is not going, and I subscribe to Vodafone, they're not going to allow a company to subscribe my personal device to the service because it's going to start recording all the text messages on my device. So this is suitable for corporately issued devices only. And this brings us to this diagram here that I made to try and break down this conversation into a matrix. So we have 4 different areas here. Top of the line, we have BYOD devices above the line. Below the line, we have corporately issued devices. On the right side, we have iOS, and on the left side, we have Android devices. So for example, if your organization has users that have iPhones and it's a bring your own device environment, really only the over-the-top application is going to be suitable for your business, because we cannot install a mobile archiving agent on iOS devices, and these are BYOD devices, so we wouldn't, even if there was an Android device, you wouldn't want to record all their text messages because they're going to be messaging their friends and family. So it makes a lot more sense, and really the only good solution is that over-the-top application. And the good news is it automatically enables you to have that split personality paradigm on that phone between business and personal life. Users can feel free to send iMessages and text messages to all their friends and family, while they can open their over-the-top application to conduct business text messages, business communications, and have that all securely recorded. It's a very good solution, and it makes perfect sense for this. On the other hand, iOS devices that are corporately issued, well, of course, the over-the-top application also works in this case. But in-network capture is also a very good solution in this case, because in-network solutions are platform agnostic. It would even work with a flip phone that doesn't even have Android or iOS, because all we're doing is capturing SMS traffic at the network carrier. And this is a owned device by corporately owned device. A very easy solution would be to subscribe it to an in-network capture service at the carrier and have them send all text messages to your retained server. You won't have to do anything as far as applications are concerned. You don't need to worry about mobile device management systems. It really takes away all the concern from end users and administrators. So it's a really nice solution if it can work out. Of course, if you have multiple carriers in your fleet, you might have certain devices that are on a carrier that's not supported. So depending on your situation, if network capture can work, personally, I think it's my favorite solution, because it's just the easiest. Over-the-top application comes with the most functionality. These are really cool applications that have a lot of business uses outside of archiving, but they tend to be a little bit on the more expensive side. And of course, you need to manage new application. In-network capture is more simplistic, offers less functionality, but if all you need to do is check a box for archiving, it's a really nice solution, and it works across Android and iOS, as we see here. If we move across to the left side and we stay below the line for corporate issued, of course, in-network capture is totally suitable for Android devices as well. But also, we can also use the archiving agent, and that is the tool that I'm going to demonstrate today. The archiving agent is installed on Android. It would be the least expensive of the 3 solutions, because it comes with Retain, while the other solutions all require a third-party subscription, either a subscription to an in-network capture service from Vodafone. These are typically run, a couple of dollars or pounds or euros, depending on how you're paying for your phone bill per month. And of course, the over-the-top application is a subscription fee from a third party. The archiving agent is free with your Retain subscription, and it's installed on Android, and you can record SMSs, and we're going to show you that in our demonstration. And of course, for BYOD, if you're in any type of BYOD environment, really the over-the-top application becomes suitable for you. So that's how we break it down. And outside of this and the talking points that I've just gone through, it becomes a more personalized conversation with each different customer, where we determine how best to proceed. Now, we can try and find a solution that fits your current environment, or you can modify your current environment to more easily fit one of these solutions that you see here. For example, we have customers who used to provide iOS devices to their regulated user bases, but they've switched to only providing Android phones to their regulated user population, so that they can more easily archive the data off of those phones. Or we standardize on an over-the-top application. So it becomes a more personalized conversation. The mobile archiving agent or module is what we're going to be showing in the demonstration. So let me explain how this works really quickly. It's an application that's installed on the phone, and I'm going to show you how to install it. And we're gonna go from the very beginning here, and hopefully it's going to work, because the application is available in the Google Play Store. You can deploy it with a mobile device management solution very easily, and you put it on the phone. And then it's going to start recording the messages and then send them securely via the Retain's REST API over the internet to your Retain server. So if your Retain server is on your premises, we have a piece of middleware called the mobile router that you can install in a DMZ or demilitarized zone. And this is the area, if you're not familiar with networking, this is the area where organizations place their web-facing applications, like any websites, public websites they might have, Outlook, the web app that needs to face the internet. These applications are installed inside of a DMZ, which is which has firewalls on either side of it for security. You can install this piece there, and it will forward the data when received from the devices to your Retain server. So and then you can view the archive messages, and we're going to see that all from the demonstration here. Just to quickly go over how the mobile in-network capture works, very similar. Instead of so the mobile SMS providers, we have a piece a piece of infrastructure that we host in AWS called the Retain Cloud Router. This is a piece of infrastructure that our third-party partners all know about, and it keeps track of all our customers' Retain servers. So Vodafone doesn't need to know where your Retain server is in the world. They just need to send the data to us, and we know where your Retain server is, because you register that your Retain system with ours. And of course, if you're subscribed to our cloud Retain offering, you won't even need to worry about setting that up. And then they send all the data to our central location, and of course it's all encrypted end to end, so your data remains private, and then it's forwarded to your Retain server. And then finally, I mentioned I would talk and show some screenshots about the over-the-top application. We've partnered with a company called Telemessage, really great company, and they've been in this business for a long time. They actually have a lot of functionality around their offering. So if for whatever reason we don't support out of the box one of the carriers that you need, they also have contracts and agreements with the different carriers across EMEA as a whole. This is an Israeli company, so they have a very high focus on EMEA. So if they support a carrier and you want to do in-network carrier and they support it, they can send any data regardless of how they capture it, whether you use their over-the-top application, whether you use their in-network application, or even they have their own mobile archiving agent. They can send the data to your Retain server because of their third-party partnership with us and their use of our REST API SDK. Their over-the-top application is named after the company. It's called Telemessage. It's available on iOS and the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, and it allows a lot of functionality. It has secure end-to-end encrypted communication capabilities with internal users. So if you want to set up a secure instant messaging platform for your end users internal to use, Telemessage is great for that. They have web applications, and you can use it from your desktop. You can send files as links and so on and so forth, make voice calls, all that. It's all recorded by the Retain server in the end. So a really slick technology from this company, and we've been partners with them for many years. And it's borne a lot of fruit for both of our companies and our customers. All right, so that brings us to the fun part. So let me move things around here on my desk, and we'll get into the mode of doing a demonstration. So I'm going to just unlock my device here. Okay. All right. So let's minimize PowerPoint. And we see here on my desktop here, I have an application called AirDroid. This is basically just going to allow me to share my Android device screen with you all today. So what I'm going to do here is we're actually going to register this device with Retain. So let me open up my Retain server here. So Retain, for those of you who have not seen Retain, again, Retain can be deployed on premises, or you can subscribe to our cloud offering of Retain. I'm going to sign in with my admin, but we also support single sign-on for customers of Office 365 and customers of G Suite from Google, as you can see there. But I will log in with my admin user, and now I'm in my administration interface. Now, this is not a deep dive on Retain as a whole, so we're not going to go through the admin interface and explain how everything works, but just to show you that I'm going to open up my device management and go to my mobile device management screen here. Now, I have no devices currently registered with my Retain server, so I'm going to, what I want to do with you today is register my Android device. Now, you've all probably been to many webinars in the past, and I don't know how many webinars you've been to that do live demonstrations along the lines of, setting up a system from scratch and registering a device and having it all work nice and neat. Normally, you'll see a video that was recorded previously. I didn't record the video previously. We're going to do it live. I practiced this yesterday, and it works perfectly fine. But just a quick disclaimer and waiver: it is possible from an act of God. It's actually a blizzard outside. Maybe my power failure might go out. There might be a power failure. Anyway, apologies in advance if something doesn't go right. Just want to get that out there. It just makes me feel better, and I'm appeasing whatever Android gods are watching us today. But in any case, watch how easy this is, and I'm confident that's going to work. First stop is the Google Play Store. We're going to search for Retain Service, which is the name of the application, the mobile archiving application. As you see here, when I search for this, there's actually two Retain applications that come up on the top two results here. The second one here, Retain, this is a mobile application that is installed for users of the archive, that they can log in and view and search their archive from a native mobile application. So we have this available for Android in the Google Store, and it's also available in the Apple App Store as well. But here we are going to install the Micro Focus Retain service. So I'm doing this all manually, as you see here. However, if you have any mobile device management system, you can deploy these automatically. End users do not need to go to the Google Play Store and install the application themselves. You can push that application out, and of course you can have your mobile management system allow the various permissions automatically. So you see here that we need to obviously view SMS messages. So we need to allow that, and we need to access contacts, so we can put in display name information instead of just showing phone numbers. we need to allow that. We need to save log files and so on, so we need to allow that. And of course, we need to monitor phone calls, so we need to allow that. All right, so now the device is in, rather the application is installed on my, and I don't like when it does that, so sorry about that. Let's put that there. Now the application is installed on my phone. However, it's not registered. So the next step is to register the device on the Retain side. So first, your first step is your mobile device management system is going to push the application out to the phone. It's going to be on the phone. And wherever it shows up on the phone, I guess that's up to you. Your device management can actually put it in folders or whatever. You see here, it's right here on my home screen here. And then once that's all pushed out, you have to register the device. So let's do that. So to register a device, you can do it two ways, manually, or you can do it automatically. Automatically via Active Directory security groups. So you can come in here and put in your LDAP or Active Directory information here, and then we can log in and find the users that exist in a particular security group or organizational unit. And then we'll read the user information that's in there. We'll see their phone number, we'll see their email address, we'll see their IMEI, which is an identifying number that identifies the physical device. And then poof, they're going to be registered automatically by magic. And we're not going to show that today because I don't have Active Directory and I only have one device. So we are going to manually add my device. So we just need a few things here. I use phone number of my device. And then we put in the IMEI number. So every device has a unique IMEI number. I don't remember what IMEI stands for, sorry. But it's just a string of numbers. And when I put this in here and I click add user, what's going to happen here is my Retain server is going to reach out to a cloud service that we host in AWS. And it's going to ask that cloud service to send a registration to this device. So that then that cloud service is going to go to Google's service for notifications, which any company that publishes applications to Google can access, and send a notification to this device here asking it to register to my Retain server. So we click add, you see my information show up there. When the device is successfully registered, the rest of these fields should populate, especially the time of registration. So if anything is to go wrong in my demonstration here with you today, this is where it's going to go wrong. So we're going to go into my phone and we're going to open up my app, and we see that it's registered. It sees my Retain server, which is here at retain.guava.com. It's actually, you see the URL is the same. It got that from the notification that went to the phone. And now it's going to be sending the data every 60 minutes, which is the default. But you can modify that down to, I think, 5 minutes as the most frequent number. So as you can see here, the notification service happens so fast. I think it's less than a minute, but on average it's about 1 to 2 minutes. It happened here almost instantaneously, as you see. And if I refresh this screen here, we see that all the data has been properly populated here. And so we are the 1st of December, 2020. We have registered my device. So what this application now is not going to really do anything for me from my end user point of view. I can't do anything here. I can see logs. But really, its purpose is to run in the background and monitor the SMS application here. So let's go in here. And let's message myself. This is a BlackBerry. I'm actually using a physical keyboard, and it's harder for me to use physical keyboards on mobile devices now than the virtual keyboard. So it's snowing outside, because it is. I'm in Montreal, Canada, by the way. So we are having some snow today. So that's actually setting it to my personal device here. And I will not have a conversation with you on the phone, on the line here. That's gonna get boring. I'm not one for small talk, especially with myself. Maybe that's a good thing. Let's go into Retain now and see what we've been archiving. So search messages here. So the searching and browsing interface of Retain is the interface where most users are going to interact with. This is where you can discover, and this is your one pane of glass across all your emails, mobile messaging, social messaging, etc. This is not a full demonstration of Retain, so we're not going to talk about every single one of these features of Retain. If you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to us or come to one of our other webinars where we talk about all the amazing features of Retain, how to export, do redaction, legal holds, all that kind of fun stuff. But today we're going to focus on mobile archiving and searching for those mobile messages. So this interface here is called Quick Search. We have Advanced Search, where you can come in and build your criteria, rather your queries based upon a wide range of criteria here. No limit to, you can do nested queries. It's a super, easy to use. Retain is just really easy to use. Our customers love that. And even the date pickers, people love these date pickers. So I start showing them in demonstrations now. They're like, wow, Steven, this date picker is great. And I'd be like, it's just a calendar. And they say, well, try doing date picking in Google Vault or Microsoft 365 Discovery Center. And if you want to see how great it is to do e-discovery in Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, we are having a webinar in a couple of weeks to show that very demonstration. So feel free to attend. And that will be very exciting, trust me. Here is the browse mode where we can see the various text messages or emails that have been archived. This is my phone. I've been archiving this device for quite some time because I've been doing many demos. But what I need to do here is, since you saw that it sends the data every 60 minutes, these new messages aren't there yet, but I can manually push them for the sake of this demo. And again, you can change that 60 minutes to a few minutes if you want. It just winds up using a little bit more battery on your device here. So I can just click send data, and the data is sent to Retain securely, of course, over HTTPS. And then if all goes well, we will see the new messages here. They're coming in nice and slowly. All right, there's my my emoji, and as you see here, emojis work very well. I did some extensive testing with emojis, and they come across all well. So the data comes into the system here, and of course you're able to look at those and do all kinds of fun things with those. But what I want to show you here is how to use the searching interface. So I'm going to go search for this message here. And we're going to use Quick Search for that because I like Quick Search. So Quick Search allows me to basically enter keywords or keyword into this giant text box at the top here. While Advanced Search, you saw there, I can actually create a query based upon many different keywords and criteria. This interface here is going to allow me to use multiple keywords, but it searches across all criteria simultaneously. So I'm going to use the keyword message. Whoops, I'm going to spell it right. And what happens here in quick search is a few things. We have search term suggestions. So based on the contents of the archives and the contents of your search query, the system is going to return some suggested keywords or suggested keywords or messages. Now I'm logged in with the administrator, so I have access across every single archive in the system. However, if you want to give access to your end users, your normal end users, to view their own archive, we have an Outlook plugin that allows them to view their archived email from Outlook, for example. They will only be able to access their own archive, importantly. Secondly, we have what we call instantaneous search results. So we have the search results populate instantaneously, as you saw. They're called instantaneous for two reasons. Number one, I never click the search button. You don't have to click the search button. It just automatically starts searching the moment you start typing in that field. And also they're instantaneous because, well, of course, they're very fast. You saw that those results took about 2 seconds or less. Obviously, I don't have billions of items in my archive here. But even, and we see the number of results that it returned. It returned just north of 60,000 results. There's 2,400 pages of results here. Now, 60,000 results in 2,400 pages is not a trivial amount of information. That's actually going to take a while to go through if you wanted to go through all of that. But it did return in 2 seconds, and you can be assured that the average search results will return in under 20 seconds with Retain. We use a very powerful indexing technology called Apache Solr, and it drives these search interfaces. Now, the data here is ordered by relevance. So the most relevant results, as far as the algorithms in Retain designate relevance, bubble up towards the top of the list, while if you skip to the last page here, the least relevant results, these are tasks, they're not even emails, go right down to the bottom. Now, I actually like to switch between pages here just to show you how quickly this interface behaves. Just watch how easy it is to. There's no reloading of web pages, no beach balls, no hourglasses. It's just the people love Retain because it's easy to set up, but it's powerful in terms of features and functionality, and it's easy to use, but it's powerful in terms of feature and technology. It's actually fun to use too. All right, so 60,000 results, way too many results here. I'm not finding that text message, right? I just see a bunch of emails here. My text message is nowhere to be found here. So this is obvious because I am doing a quick search and it's searching across everything. But I can go to the left side of the screen here, and you've probably been looking at these and wondering what they do. These allow me to narrow down my search results, filter. And more than filtering, it actually shows me at a glance how many results are going to remain after I've filtered. Now, obviously, I don't have any recipients that have the word message in there, so it has 0. So I'm not even going to bother filtering a recipient. I just know that there's 0, so I can just do that and boom, there's nothing here. But I'm going to search on subject. So watch how fast it's going to filter these results down to that 3,000. I mean, it already knows, it's in memory, so it's instantaneous. 3,000 results, still too much here. So I'm going to filter on type. I don't want these emails. We have 2,800 emails here. We want to search for messaging here. So let's whittle it down to the 300. And now I start to see text messages. I start to see BBMs. And sadly, for me, I've used a very generic keyword, and message comes up in just about like so many different items that was not a really good choice for me. But I can filter on date range too. So I'm going to just look for the items that I've created recently. And then boom, there's my message right there. So as you can see, with 4 mouse clicks, because I had to use this, I selected 6 months, 4 mouse clicks and probably 2 to 3 seconds of processing on the back end allowed me to go from a results set of 60,000 down to the one message I was looking for. obviously your personal usage of Retain is going to be, you're not going to be searching for something that with the word message in it. You're going to be having more granular and specific keywords to find your items. But just to show you how easy it is to whittle down your large amounts of information, that's where the value of Retain comes through. You're going to use Retain to collect a large amount of information. Its job is to make that information discoverable for you and to allow you to act on that, export it, redact it, whatever you need to do with that information. Delete it if you have to, according to GDPR, etc. If you are on the line here and all you need to do is check a box saying that you have archived the information, but you have no desire to ever find that information after it's been recorded, well, Retain is going to allow you to check that box, but you're going to be missing out on a lot of the value there. And of course, if you already have an archiving solution that's archiving your email, but it's what we call archiving 1.0 or legacy archiving, where they don't allow you to archive mobile devices. So let's say you're a customer of Office 365 and you're using their compliance center, or you have a E5 license. You're not going to be able to archive mobile devices with Microsoft, so you're going to have to go elsewhere. And now all of a sudden you have two different archives to search. Retain allows you to have that all under one unified pane of glass. So with that, we have about 10 minutes to go. I have just one more slide to get through here, and that is saying thank you and asking for any questions. So I don't know, Jeremy, if you've been watching the questions.
Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Really appreciate it. And it just shows the power of Retain when it comes to be able to capture such a huge amount of data, but then search down to exactly what you need at the time when you need it. So in going back to what I was saying earlier about, you never know when you need to find that kind of information for litigation or for any kind of employee issues, but you can just pinpoint it, find it, and be able to act on it. And you can see it's preserved in its original state, which is fabulous. So we've got a couple of questions came in during your presentation, Stephen. The first one I've got here is, you mentioned hosted offerings. Are Retain hosted offerings in the US, or are they in UK and Europe as well?
Right. So I spoke about our hosted offerings, and we use AWS for our hosted offerings for Retain. So that allows us to provision customers' Retain systems in any jurisdiction where Amazon has a data center. So they have data centers all over the world. Of course, the UK, they have multiple data centers. So and across most jurisdictions in EMEA, they have data centers. So you can have your data stored inside of your country's borders, inside of Amazon's data centers, which comply with many different security, government regulations, and industry regulations as far as data center security and access and all that fun stuff. So we can take advantage of all that and take advantage of the fact that they have data centers in countries and put your data there. So no, the answer is no, it doesn't have to be in the US, that's for sure. It can be inside of UK, for example, quite easily.
Yeah, and that's quite an important one when it comes to sovereignty and keeping data within jurisdiction. I would actually add also on there that we work with a number of managed service partners. So if clients are looking to have the Retain service hosted by a managed service partner, absolutely we're able to provide that. We've got another question here. Can you archive without adding anything to the user's device?
So yes, so perhaps you joined late on that one because we spoke about a method of capture called in-network archiving. So this allows you to subscribe to your carrier like Vodafone. They have a service that allows them to capture your text messages from your employees as they send them, and then they send that information to the Retain server directly. So all the fun stuff and recording happens at the carrier, not on the phone. So that means you do not need to install anything on the phone. You just need to subscribe to the service.
Okay. There's another question here. Are there any regulatory requirements to archive mobile communications? If so, what industries are affected? And I'll take that one myself, actually, Stephen, because it's probably more UK related. And the answer really is that the one industry which is most affected by mobile archiving would be the financial services, banking industries, where there are actually specific regulations or rules which have been laid down by the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA. In essence, they require firms to record conversations that result in a transaction being undertaken or intended to result in a transaction being undertaken for 5 years. And these conversations, which include text, which include messaging, must be captured, indexed and supervised, and can be made or sent from devices which are provided by the firm or owned by the employee. So all of those bases are covered by Retain. I'd also say that there are other regulations in the UK relating to e-disclosure. There was a new regulation that came out, in fact, in October 2010, governing court rules and practice direction, which spoke about covering the disclosure of emails, text messages, and BlackBerry messages, and that as an organisation you have a duty to preserve documents, which include all forms of electronic documentation. So that covers all industries. And in essence, if you are brought to court and you need to disclose electronic information, you either have to be able to show that data, show those communications, or show a very clear disposition policy as to why you no longer have them. So there's nothing specific, although if you do get to a point of litigation, you really do need to be able to surface and present those documents within e-disclosure. Those are the only questions, or all the questions that I have. I think what we can do there is we can wrap up. Unless you want to add anything else, Stephen, at this stage?
No, thank you so much, everyone, for attending and your attention. And if you have any other questions or concerns or comments, our email addresses are on screen. Please take note, and we'd be happy to oblige.
Yeah, so I should like to thank everybody for attending today. We'll wrap up there and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.